Here. All right, let me know when you're ready. I'm ready on my end.
Yeah, I'm just struggling to work out how it
So
works out.
while Emma is getting ready, I'm here with Emma from Go Freediving, the leading freediving club in the UK. She's going to tell us all about that. And we're going to talk about the art and the passion for freediving. I mean, I love breath hold, not for a freediving purpose, but I love the always interacting with freedivers because they push it to a level that I wouldn't go. I mean, I'm happy to do my breath hold very safely on my yoga mat, but being a few hundred meters underwater, or meters underwater, that's a different story. And I know all about mammalian reflex and how you get pretty safe down there. But still, it's something of an edge. So I'm always curious to hear what's going on in the body and in the head of a free diver. So that's what we're gonna explore with Emma this morning. And if you like these conversations, just let me know. Like, share, and comment. All right, Emma, we're live also on Go Freediving. So
I hope. Technology really isn't my thing, but I don't know. I posted a link.
So Emma, first piece of advice to you. You are absolutely everything you want. So if you say technology is not my thing, you're just reinforcing the story. Okay. You can break that story and make it your thing. And all you need to do is decide, hey, technology is my thing, and boom, that story is gone. So Emma, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Can you introduce yourself briefly?
Okay, my name is Emma Farrell. I'm the owner of Go Freediving. So my entire life has been about freediving, it seems. I started freediving in 2000. I did a little bit of competing a long time ago. Back when I started freediving, there wasn't really an education system. So I was one of the founding members of the AIDA kind of international commission for education, and I helped write course content which is still taught worldwide. So I started teaching in 2003, helping to create all these worldwide courses, and I've taught ever since. I'm an instructor trainer for AIDA and for SSI, and for now I mainly teach RAID courses. I've also done some really fascinating work with Olympic and Paralympic athletes, and done many other things, been on television a lot, and written a book about freediving, which also has incredible photos by an amazing world record holding freediver and photographer called Fred Boyle. So freediving has been my life for the last 20 years. And yes, I've done lots of really cool things.
Yeah,
that's briefly who I am.
I can see that, and I'm pretty impressed. How did you come to freediving? How did it all? I always love to hear what got people into doing what they're doing.
I love this story. Well, when I grew up, I saw the film, the French very famous film by Luc Besson, the Big Blue. And that really captivated me. I just thought, wow, what is this thing called freediving? And I'd seen Tanya Streeter doing some of her records. I'd cut out of the National Geographic this picture of Deborah Andolo surfacing from this really deep dive. And I just thought, oh my God, and you could just see her and this big kind of dark reef. I then saw Megan Heaney-Greer doing a breath hold on television. And I just thought, wow, this thing, it's called freediving. But I thought that it was something that I personally would never be able to do, because I was never particularly sporty. I liked swimming, but it wasn't really a thing. And I thought you could only do freediving if you live somewhere tropical, like Tanya or Deborah, or like in the Big Blue, they're in the Mediterranean. So I thought, well, it's not something that a British person could do. And then I was on holiday, and it was New Year's Eve, and I was in the Canary Islands with my friend, and we went for a meal on New Year's Eve, and she said to me, Emma, if you had another life, what would you do? As in a completely different life. And I said, oh, I'd be a free diver. And she said, what's that? And I gave this long, convoluted explanation about freediving that was completely inaccurate, because I really knew nothing. And then she said, oh, that's cool. And then we went out, we went to a bar and we met a British guy. We were chatting to him and we said, what are you doing here? And he said, oh, I'm a free diver. And I was just like, it's fate. And I pulled this poor guy outside and I said, tell me everything about free diving. And he told me about this place called the Submarine Escape Training Tank, which is in the UK. And it's 30, so it's 100 foot deep, 30 meters. And it's this big, long tube of very warm water. And what they do in there is they train submariners, people to escape from submarines. So these people start at the bottom at 30 meters and go up to the top. And so on the weekend, free divers were coming in and practicing free diving, starting at the top and going down to the bottom. So I got back home, I contacted the guy who ran the sessions and I went along, and that's the start of my freediving journey. I didn't tell anyone I was going. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my family. I just went. Oh. And that was my first freediving experience. And then when I started teaching, I started actually teaching at the set tank.
Wow, what a great story. And I love when, you know, you said it was my fate. You just listened to what was coming your way, and well done for that. It's very important to listen to what the universe is bringing you and going with the flow. So tell me, you've been doing free diving for a long time. What has how has it impacted your life? And I'm not talking about your work, but what has it impacted in your interaction with people, your connection to yourself? You know, how are you who you are today? And what did you learn from freediving as life lessons?
For me, the most important thing to begin with, and this is true for I think most people who learn to freedive, is that it showed me that my expectations or my perception of myself and my own limitations was self-created. So we all have this idea, this sense of ourself, where this is who we are. Like my whole thing about technology, which was good you pulled me up on that, because it's absolutely true. We have these stories we tell about ourselves, and for me they were, well, I'm this, I'm not sporty, I'm you know, whatever. And generally my perception of myself was that I'm quite physically weak, or I have lots of limitations. And so when the first time I remember, I held my breath for 3 minutes in a swimming pool up north in Chester, and I couldn't believe that I had achieved that. And shortly after that breath hold, I then, as in about 5 minutes after, I then did 50 meters no fins, which is basically breaststroke underneath the water for 50 meters. And again, for me, it wasn't so much that 3 minutes and 50 meters, it was I had done that. You know, if someone else had done that, I'd go, well, yeah, fair enough. But the fact I had done that. So for me, I then took a great big step back and thought, I can do all of this stuff that I didn't think I could. So if I can do this, what else can I do in my life? And I think this is the biggest thing that people come to freediving and realize, is that when they do seemingly the impossible, they then look at other areas of their life and think, well, why am I still in this job? Why am I still in this relationship? Why am I still creating these stories about myself which aren't necessarily true? And so for me, that was a real, you know, it was a real, not necessarily a light bulb moment, but it was a series of light bulb moments where I thought, wow, I really can do anything I put my mind to. So there was that, which was a major thing. And then I think also for me, doing so much teaching all the time, you get to have a real connection. You can have an immediate, well, maybe this is just me, but I love people. I really love people. And you can have a really quick and immediate connection with so many people, and you get to read people and you get to understand their psychology, particularly with freediving, which is not like, I don't know, teaching somebody flower arranging or something like that, where it's, you know, there's no risk. where when you take people into the water, they are potentially one breath away from that's it. So people are very, very scared inwardly, if not necessarily outwardly. And so you get to read people very quickly. You get to know people very quickly, and you get to have So for me, I've got this thing, I find this confidence around teaching and around people, because A, I love people, and B, I've been through this journey and I can help others through it as well. So a bit waffly, but I hope you got that.
And thank you for that. And what part of all that you are able to do it thanks to freediving? What did freediving, in what way freediving allowed you to read people better, to, you know, do all
Because,
these things? I'm interested in the lessons from freediving itself.
well, I say that freediving is like extreme meditation. So freediving is, on the one hand, if you do it correctly, incredibly peaceful. But on the other hand, it is unbelievably intense. Because say you are doing a dive for about a minute, we could spend a minute, you know, chatting here or going for a walk or doing anything that takes a minute. But your body's kind of like, yay, whatever. But when you are holding your breath in water and doing a dive, that minute becomes unbelievably intense. It's like you have a different perception and experience of time. So the first time, in fact, any time you do a dive, the more you do, the more confident you get. But the first time you do a dive, or the second time, or the third time, or if you do a dive that's deeper or longer than you've done before, the amount of stuff that goes through your mind and through your body as you do it is so huge that what I'm trying to say is, when I first started freediving, everything is so intense. You are going down, you are concentrating on equalizing, holding your breath. Time seems to expand like this. And so you understand when you freedive what the mental journey is and what the physical journey is. So that when you come out from a free dive, often people come out and they're quite spaced out, not because there's anything wrong with them, but they are just processing all of this information that has been kind of gifted to them by the breath hold. I suppose it's also like the experience of doing something really intense, like getting into an ice bath. It becomes a real physical and mental journey and sensation. And so for me, having gone through for years that process of experiencing everything that the mind and the body brings up, I find it very, very easy to see, to be able to spot in someone's physicality or the way they talk or the look in their eyes, what's going on in their body. So I can see somebody doing a dive and it can only be, say, 5-7 meters. And every time their body changes, I'm reading what's going on in their mind. And they come up and we have a chat and I say, okay, so what I saw was X, Y, Z. And they go, oh my God, how could you tell what I was thinking? Because you learn to read people's bodies, even if you can't actually see their face.
You said something, a lot is going on in the mind, but I read somewhere that 25% of oxygen in the body is used by the brain. And if you want to have a long breath hold, you need to actually shut down the brain and be in the body and sensation in the body. Is that true? And how do you shut down the noise when you're under?
It's that's kind of true and not true. It depends on the kind of dive you're doing. So if you're doing a static breath hold, so a static breath hold is where you're on the surface of the water, usually a swimming pool, and you're just holding your breath for as long as you can. So when you're doing a static, you're not actually physically moving, so you're not expending all that energy. So a static breath hold is always going to be probably longer than if you were moving and underneath the water. So when you are on the surface of a swimming pool and you're not moving, so this means you don't have to think about spinning, you don't have to think about equalizing. So in those circumstances, you then have nothing to distract your mind from doing the whole monkey mind thing. And also, because you're holding your breath for longer, then you have to find ways to distract yourself. So I can't really comment about whether your brain uses more oxygen, whether you're thinking about lots of things, or whether you're just completely silent. But I know from my experience and from others that when you are in the first phase of that breath hold, you do try and just shut the mind off completely, because it helps to help the time pass. So lots of people, I actually know people who have fallen asleep mid-breath hold. So they've been on the surface, and then they've kind of woken up and gone, oh yeah, I'm holding my breath. So I just try and be very, very peaceful. Or I also do, because I teach yoga nidra, I do a yoga nidra rotation of consciousness around my body really slowly to each little point like that. So I would say that for a dive like that, a static breath hold, it is very common to spend the first part of it just going, okay, I am at peace, I am at peace. But when you get to the struggle phase, it becomes a lot more difficult. The other thing is when you're diving deep and so I think there's also a difference between a recreational dive and a dive for depth. So a dive for depth, you're thinking a lot more about, okay, I just need to concentrate. Am I equalizing? Am I getting the equalization right? Is my finning? Okay, now I'm going into free fall, so I don't need to do anything. Now I need to check my body position. Now I need to just relax through everything. So and concentrate on the equalization. So that's more of a kind of inward process. And freediving generally is an inward rather than outward process. But when you're doing a recreational dive, so one of my favorite experiences has been diving with dolphins. And on that dive, you're more outward. So you're more about, oh my God, this dolphin is right next to my face like this. And so you have a much more intense experience outwards. Whereas if you're doing a depth dive, the focus can be more inwards. But I always find that it depends on the kind of mind. So for me, I have this mind that is constantly telling me negative things. So I have to say, okay, no, that's all right. That's okay. No. So when I did a competition dive in Switzerland that went horribly wrong, lots of things happened. And one of the things that happened was my lanyard got caught around the bottom plate at 37 meters. And I tried, when I started going back up, I didn't move. So here I was in a really dark, like lake. It was almost pitch black and I couldn't get back up. I mean, this was so long ago when lines were not designed the safest way. It's completely different now. But I had a one-handed quick release. So I released thank goodness, because otherwise I would have literally at 37 meters having to be undoing. Horrible. So I set off and I thought, I've never had a blackout ever. But if I'm going to have a blackout, it's probably going to be now. So I thought, what should I do? And in that moment, that's about training the mind. Go, okay, do I panic or do I just calm myself down and focus on my finning? So every time I was in a monofin, every stroke of the monofin, I said, I am okay. I am okay. I am okay. And I surfaced from that dive and I was more than okay. I was completely and utterly fine to the point where I think I took one breath and then started telling everyone about everything that had gone wrong on the dive. So, but on the converse side, you see students who panic and they won't black out because they're so shallow and we wouldn't ever let them go that long. But you see them start to kind of rush for the surface rather than just allowing everything to just calm down because they don't yet have that confidence.
How do you build that confidence? How do you not panic when your heart rate goes up and your whole body wants to go for air? How do you not?
And I think, the most important thing is that you need to learn with a good instructor. So you need to learn with someone who takes you really gently through each single dive. So we would start, for example, where we do our teaching in the UK. We teach at this really beautiful lake where they've got all these things sunk at different depths so you can go and explore. And so my favorite bit is they've got an aeroplane which is cut into 3. So you've got a section here, section here, section here. And so we take a group to each section. And they start the weekend by maybe pulling down and just about seeing the plane. And they come back and they're like, oh my God, no, you don't understand, Emma. I am at my limit. That is it. And I have, and you very calmly and you reassure them and tell them for all these reasons why they're completely fine. And then you take them a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And I say that you always want to surface from a dive thinking, oh my goodness, that was so easy. I could do so much more. You never want to surface from a dive going, that was on my limit. And so by the end of the weekend, if people can equalize, they are usually going down, swimming through the plane and coming back and just being so cool about it. But it's about that slow progression, not making these massive leaps, but just doing slowly, 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 and building the confidence each time. And what we often do is we will dive with every single student on every single dive. And sometimes we will dive so that we are always below the student. So I will go down and just hold on to the line so that the student feels reassured that there's always going to be me deeper than them. And these depths aren't particularly deep, but
You
it's
have
all
oxygen
about,
for them.
yeah, sorry.
You're breathing oxygen.
What do you mean?
You're not free diving when you're assisting.
Yes, yes.
Okay. But you're
Yeah,
there.
we're always
You shake their hand if they're not okay. That's all you can do. Yeah, I'm there.
yeah,
Right. Thank you.
yeah, we are obviously as instructors, we have to look after ourselves. So we would never do something that's going to put ourselves in danger. But we are very happy and capable of going down before a student and just hanging on the line and waiting for them, and just watching them coming down. And because we know that they may think that they are on their limit, but we know that they are so within their limits, and what they're doing is so within ours that we can just hang around. And I mean, we don't hang around and wait for all of them to come down, but for every student we will dive. If they need to, we will dive with them and go down deeper than them so they feel reassured.
Wow, cool story. So Emma, share with us, what is your routine? Do you have a morning routine? And if you do some breath work, what do you do?
My morning routine changes. If you'd have asked me last year, my morning routine would have been to get up, do some breath work, go to my little sauna, my infrared sauna, and then get in essentially my own ice bath, which is a wheelie bin, a big bin, which I have tied to a tree. So I lift the lid off and I climb in and I sit in it and go, ugh, and try and be calm and then get out. So I did that for quite a long time. So at the moment, things are so very different in the world, as we can all imagine. So lots of things have changed and gone a bit out the window. So at the moment, I'm in a big period of transition between our UK freediving season and our winter training season. So at the moment, I'm just getting up, which is probably the wrong thing to do, just getting up and having some water and then going straight to my computer and starting to work, which isn't ideal. But yes, I have lots of resources available to me. So in all honesty, my routine last year is very different from my routine at the moment.
And what kind of breathwork do you do?
Well, I have a lot of breathing techniques at my disposal because of obviously teaching yoga for the last 10 years, teaching freediving for 20, and then working with the Olympic and Paralympic athletes. So when I worked with them, I was not teaching them freediving, I was teaching them how to breathe properly and how to maximize what they have. And so the program that I developed with them is what I now teach in my breathing optimization classes. So there's a whole mix of freediving, yoga, Buteyko, all kind of mixed together into these breathing classes that I teach. So it depends how I'm feeling, but most of the time for me personally, the breathing exercises that I do are calming ones. They are not necessarily vigorous, which I do demonstrate when I'm teaching, but they are very, very calming because my mind is always going mental. So I just need to calm everything down. So the breathing exercises I do are very, very simple pranayamas, just in and out, usually in and out through the nose, and just calm myself down. So that's the breathing practices personally that are the most used for me at this moment.
Yes, I mean, isn't it amazing that, you know, Olympic athletes are not aware of their breaths, are not conscious of how they breathe, and they go through their career and they go to the top of their field without even being aware of their breath. We can see that over and over, whatever sport you're watching, isn't it? So what's your experience with athletes? Do you feel that there is more awareness, or they are as unaware and unconscious as everyone else?
I think it completely depends on the individual. I think lots of them have never even considered it, and others are much more open-minded and they'll look for stuff rather than being told what to do. So my experience was phenomenal. Oh God, over 10 years ago now, I did a talk at the Royal Society of Medicine about exercise at extremes. And I talked about freediving and the incredible physiological changes that happen in the body. And after the talk, I was approached by a member of UK Sport, and he was part of the marginal gains division. And that department was all about trying to find different ways to increase athletes' performance by tiny bits, which would mean the difference between a medal or not. And because they know the big things, they know so much about how to train an athlete, particularly for each individual sport, but it's about bringing in these crazy new ideas like breathing. And so I first of all worked with an Olympic cyclist. Now, at the time, she was 19. She was slated not to do the London Games, but to do the one after. And she had quite bad asthma. She had confidence issues. She had recovery issues after she raced. But she was a full-time athlete. She was paid to train. So I started working with her, and she was just phenomenal. She totally bought into what I was teaching. She did the exercises every day. Her coach was on board. And at the end of 6 weeks, she had had such an improvement in her lung function markers. In one case, she'd had a 10% improvement in one of her lung markers. And this was incredible considering that she was already a full-time athlete and they were already trying to help her breathing. So after that, I started working with Olympic swimmers and then Paralympic swimmers. And again,
let me stop you before we continue.
Yeah.
Can you develop what lung markers are?
So when you do lung function tests, you breathe into certain things and you have different markers. So it's things like your vital capacity and the name escaped me. But it's about your strength and your ability to use your lungs. And so she went through a series of tests before she did my program, and then she did the same test after 6 weeks of doing my program.
And the program, in a nutshell, if you can give us the bullet point of the program.
Okay, so the program was a series of exercises. So it always depends on where someone starts. So sometimes I can start with someone and they can't even do abdominal breathing. So you ask them to, lie on their back, legs bent, feet on the floor. Okay, just do abdominal breathing, and they just go. So nothing moves, and so you think, okay, we've got to start with this. So I worked with one Paralympic athlete, and we spent probably the best part of 2 hours just working on him identifying how he should be breathing, because I couldn't move on any further. So the first thing is make sure people actually know how to breathe properly. They can identify different parts of their body and breathe correctly. Then we have a series of Kriyas. So I use Kapalabhati, the pumping breath, a lot, and that coupled with breath hold and also coupled with the use of the bandhas, so engaging the different muscle locks in the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, and the throat. I use alternate nostril breathing, and then I do a series. I have a lot of CO2 tolerance exercises, which are essentially breath hold exercises. Some are done on inhale, some are done on exhale, some are done on partial, and some are kind of playing around with it. So to be honest, what I want to do now is to actually write down because since I've been doing the breathing optimization classes, since lockdown, I've taught, I think, 65 classes. And I want to be able to, every single one has been different, write down all of the different exercises because I've come up with new ones. So there are lots and lots of ones, but essentially they are dealing with tolerance to high levels of carbon dioxide and being able to fully expand and use muscles. So we do a lot of diaphragm stretching exercises as well, because what we want to do essentially is to increase your vital capacity and decrease your residual volume. So increase the volume of air that you can breathe in and out because obviously we can't change what we're born with.
Great. Yeah. No. I'm called to do a little exercise now. I feel I'm just aware that not everybody can maybe familiar what CO2 tolerance means, and so I think it would be great. Do you mind sharing with us? Not a pranayama exercise, but maybe one of the CO2 tolerance exercise that you would do, so we just get a feel of what it's all about.
Yeah, well, I'll do one that's super, super quick, and also very much involves your unconscious mind, because we're going to do a partial exhale hold. And so if I do it with you, and I'll talk through the various sensations that will happen. So if anyone was to have to hand, they probably don't, a pulse oximeter, they will be able to put it on the end of their finger and see that their blood saturation of oxygen is still super high. So when people feel this overwhelming urge to breathe, this is the result of high levels of carbon dioxide, not low levels of oxygen, presuming, of course, that you haven't hyperventilated. So we're going to simply take a breath in, big breath in, and then just sigh it, go, and then hold the breath. So if you want to take a big breath in, you can do it through the mouth, and then just sigh it out. And then close the mouth. Some people might want to pinch the nose. And then just feel the body settling. And you should feel absolutely fine for at least 10 seconds. But the rising of carbon dioxide will happen really quick, and you will start to feel a tightness, an urge to breathe. You might feel like a fluttering starting in your diaphragm, in your tummy. You might feel the urge to swallow. And suddenly, very soon, these feelings do become really, really overwhelming. So this is a CO2 tolerance exercise, which we obviously mix with other things. Okay, yes, so, and then start breathing again, because it's super, super challenging. And so, for example, what we do, one of the exercises we do is we do inhale, exhale, and it can be a partial or full exhale depending on your experience. Hold for 10 seconds. Inhale, exhale, hold for 20 seconds. Inhale, exhale, hold for 30 seconds. Inhale, exhale, hold for as long as you like. And with the mammalian dive reflex class that I do once a month, we do 21-minute holds. So breathe in, hold for a minute, exhale, inhale, hold for a minute, exhale, inhale. So if you do the whole thing, in 20 minutes, you're only doing 20 breaths. So some people have to breathe more, and that's completely normal. And at the end of that, the 20th hold, people can hold for as long as they like. And I have one particular student of mine, and she's been doing the classes twice a week for a few months now. And when we get to that point where everyone is literally just like, oh my goodness me, she holds her breath for 2 minutes, which is phenomenal considering that in the last 20 minutes, she's only breathed, 19 times. Wow. So it really,
and you do that you're underwater. You're at the surface.
No. This is done seated or lying down. So this is nowhere near the water. When you're in the water, you can do we have classic CO2 tables for free diving. So the classic CO2 table is you pick the length of your breath hold. So the length of your breath hold depends on your ability. So it could be a minute, 1:15, 1:30, longer. And you hold your breath traditionally for 8 times. But the recovery between each breath hold gets less and less and less. So you would start at 2-minute ventilation, then you'd go down, and sometimes the time between the last 2 holds is maybe 15 seconds. So that's a classic CO2 training table used in free diving, which is 20, 25 years old. But now, as we gain more experience, we do different things. But obviously doing it out of the water gives you more flexibility to do more interesting things, because you don't have to have someone there to look after you. And it's easier because you don't have to turn over, turn back, so it's just easier to do more creative things out of the water.
So Emma, what are the benefits of improving your CO2 tolerance? Why would I do that?
Well, if you want to be a free diver, then it helps your free diving massively.
If I'm an athlete, or in general, what's maybe the health benefit for everybody? People who are not free divers, I get it; they want to hold it longer. But what would be the health benefits?
Well, when you can tolerate higher levels of carbon dioxide, you have more. Your body can utilize oxygen more efficiently, because when you have higher levels of carbon dioxide, the oxygen, the bond between oxygen and hemoglobin is much weaker. So your body gets more hemoglobin, so you can use oxygen more efficiently. It helps the blood vessels dilate as well. So often when people are suffering with chronic hyperventilation, they have all kinds of issues, from extreme anxiety to that feeling that they just can't breathe, and that tension. So when you are used to having high levels of carbon dioxide, your athletic performance automatically will improve. So the cyclist I worked with, she had phenomenal benefits to her performance. She felt like she was able to take bigger and more effective breaths. And at the end of the race, when she was, basically her whole body was full of lactic acid, high levels of carbon dioxide, she was fine. She wasn't literally being kind of helped over the finish line. You know, after she got to the finish line, she was then literally held up. She was just fine. She got her breath back and she was able to talk and she was confident. And, you know, the difference it made to her was absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, I'm familiar with all that, and I love it, and I encourage everybody to explore. You know, that's the Bohr effect that you described, and
Yes.
in general, Buteyko's work, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And I direct people to The Oxygen Advantage, and the beautiful book from Patrick McKay on different breathing exercise, and testing where you are, and according to your level of CO2 tolerance, what kind of exercise are available to you. But yeah, I'll be very happy to read your book and recommend it as well. So look forward to reading that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what else would like to talk about. What else do you like to, you know, other lessons from freediving maybe? And it's a fascinating world. It's a fascinating world.
It is. I think
Yeah,
what
here,
the
I got something for you.
Yes.
I was told once that story that Jacques Mayol Jacques Mayol was like kind of the godfather of freediving, and he went to India and was studied meditation and brought this this guru, and he wanted to understand freediving. So they both went for a free dive, and the Baba had never done freediving. And he explained a little bit, and then Baba went under for 6 minutes. First dive went for 6 minutes, and Jacques was worried. Says, "Wow, this guy is dying on me. Did I kill the guru?" And the guy comes out, and he said, this was his first words: "This is the shortcut to samadhi." I don't know if you knew that story, but maybe let's talk a little bit on the spiritual level. What has and I don't know if you're a spiritual or religious person, but how has freediving influenced you on your spiritual journey?
I think, like you say, everyone is different, and everyone will take from freediving something different. I mean, it may essentially be the same message, but it will just be packaged in a different way. So for me, it's about, I read, because in my book, I reference a lot of Lao Tzu in terms of his quotes. And for me, it's about the interconnectedness of all things. So when you are in the water and you're just in the water, you have that wonderful connectedness with the water and the life underneath. And for me, on breath hold, you have a much closer connection than if you are breathing loads of bubbles. So for me, this kind of the spiritual lesson is a constant reminder that we are all connected. We are all one. Me and you and me and my environment, we are all part of this wonderful web, and we cannot disassociate ourselves from any part of it. We can't feel that we are separate, which of course we do. So if I'm having, you know, we will always have problems in our lives, but if we have these problems, we have to learn, which I find incredibly difficult, just to step back and realize this is just a story. This is not real. What is real is that we are fundamentally connected on a very, very deep level. So that's what I think my lesson, and being able to be in nature, being able to be outside in nature, when in reality most of my time is spent doing admin in front of a computer. So having that incredible gift that my job enables me to be in water and to have this incredible interaction with another human being or several human beings and the natural world is just an absolute gift.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. And this connection to nature, we can, I feel we can get it even if we don't go out in nature. What I love with breath hold and breath work in general, it gets you it gets you in your body in a way that you reconnect to your true nature. So that's that. And all of a sudden, wow, you're alive again. You realize, wow, you value your breath. All of a sudden, it is not something you take for granted anymore.
Yeah.
So, Emma, if we want to work with you, what are your offerings?
So what I have is my regular twice weekly breathing classes, which are, if you can't make the times, they're on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So UK time, 6:30 to 7 on a Tuesday and 12 to 12:30 on a Thursday. Now, a lot of people can't make those times, but I always record the classes. So if you can't make those times, then you still send an email and go, I'd like to join the class. And these classes really are suitable for every single level. There are always going to be people in the class who are complete beginners, and always going to be people who have done my breathing classes for quite a few months. As well as that, I have...
How much is it?
Oh my goodness me, I can't remember the pricing structure. I think if you buy a pass, it's £7 or £8 a session. I can't remember. Sorry, it's all. If I can send you a link, then you can put that link up.
Yeah.
We've also got an hour class once a month, and our 45-minute mammalian dive reflex class once a month. As well as that, I teach my regular yoga class on a Monday evening. Again, everything is available on recording if you can't make the class. And I also work with people individually. So if people say, well, I have very specific needs, or I don't want to do something in a group class, then they can just send me an email and we work one-to-one over Zoom. And then, of course, there's all my freediving stuff as well if people are interested.
Cool. Well, send me the links to all that. We'll put it in the notes of this live and on the
Thank you.
of the video. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yes, this is really, really important because this is part of my journey as well. There might be people who see this or see just a part of it and think, oh my goodness, I'm really interested in freediving, but there's no way I could do freediving because I am too old, too overweight, live in the wrong place, and the list just goes on and on and on. I hate water, I'm scared of water. So I just want to tell people that absolutely everyone can learn to freedive and improve their breathing. So you might just want to improve your breathing, or you might want to learn to freedive, but I don't want anyone to feel that any part of their age or their physicality can stop them, because it simply isn't true. The last course we taught a couple of weeks ago was one of the most beautiful experiences of my teaching life. And I taught a guy called Darren, who 4 years ago, he was rock climbing, super fit guy, and he had an accident and he's paralyzed from here down. And he, apart from being one of the loveliest, nicest people I've ever met and the most incredible, inspiring person, he just took to freediving. So it's somebody who is paralyzed from here, can get down 12 meters and swim through a plane, then turn around, swim back through it and up to the surface. Then really anyone can learn to freedive, or anyone can learn to use their breath more efficiently.
Wow, what an inspiring story. Well, Emma, I leave excited, and you know, just talking to you, I could feel that I reconnected to my breath. I mean, it's just that awareness, and I'm sure everyone's watching is saying, oh yeah, actually, I've been reconnecting to my breath in the last 45 minutes. So, you know, even that was amazing. So thank you so much for taking the time with us.
My pleasure.
That was amazing. And if anyone is interested, freediving is the bomb. I actually love it. I don't practice it myself, but I'm drawn to it. And I was thinking, hey, I have actually, I'm in France and we have a swimming pool. It's pretty cold, so it's going to be a bit of an ice swimming, which I love. So I'm going to be doing some freediving this afternoon. So thank you so much for that inspiration, Emma.
Oh, my pleasure. Lovely to chat to you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a beautiful day, everyone. See you.
Thank you.
Let me